Good morning, beloveds.
Good morning.
Namaste. The God in me greets the God in you. How divine you are, and you all look divine. Welcome this morning. This month I've chosen as my topic, big words, big ideas. And last week we talked about entelechy, a big word that means, in Aristotelian philosophy, the difference between the actuality and its potentiality. And how important that is in our lives, because every single one of us has the potential to be an enlightened sage, or a great baseball player, or the potentiality is there for anything. Spirit provides many opportunities, many pathways, and we choose. And that potentiality becomes a reality in actuality, and the actuality is your entelechy. This week I'm talking about exegesis. I told you last week that I also put a check mark beside a word when I look it up. Exegesis has about 6. This time I think I know what it means. I've got it memorized. Exegesis is critical analysis or interpretation of a literary passage, especially the Bible. And heaven knows there are things in the Bible that we read, and if we were anything but metaphysicians, which is what we are, meaning we see beyond the physical, if we were anything but metaphysicians, we could be quite confused by some of the phrases in the Bible. And if we were literalists, I think it's hard to be a literalist when you're reading the Bible. Some of those things is like, well, that might have worked 5,000 years ago, but not so much today. But the passage that I want to read you is from Matthew 18:18. Truly I say to you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you release on earth will be released in heaven. And again I say to you that if 2 of you are worthy on earth, anything that you would ask will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there amongst them. What? Raise your hand if you got that. Good for you, Richard. All right. So Ernest Holmes, the author of the Science Mind textbook and the founder of Science of Mind, has this to say about that. There it is. Whatsoever ye shall bind on earth. Next we come to a passage difficult to understand, and one which has caused confusion in many minds. Whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. A superficial reading of this passage might lead one to suppose that this earth provides the last chance for the salvation of the soul. But this is not the meaning of the text, which implies that the experience of death cannot change all. As a man has lived on earth, so will he continue to live after death. If he has been pure, he will continue to be pure. If he has been otherwise, he will continue to be otherwise. False experience will continue until the lesson is learned, until the soul turns from that which hurts to its greater good. The spirit of man is like nature to the Spirit of God, and it is impossible for the Spirit of God to remain in darkness. The next life is a logical continuation of this one, and could not be otherwise. So whatever lessons we learn while we're here, however we manage to live that good life, which is our real potentiality, and possibly, as we're striving towards it, our actuality, our entelechy, that thing is going to move with us into our next conscious incarnation after we die. Death is not the end of who we are. It's the end of the physical body that carries us. That's for sure. We're not going to take anything with this much physical mass with us into an arena of light. That's just not the way it works. And besides, I don't know about you guys, but the older I get, the less this one seems to suit me. There are things that just don't work the way they used to. For one, my knees. Especially in this cold weather, it's like, I feel like Walter Brennan. So we're not going to take this with us. We're not taking our physical bodies with us. There's no luggage rack on your hearse. But you're going to take your consciousness with you. So whatever we're moving through in our lives, however the information comes to us, and I don't even want to call them lessons, because I don't really think we're here at Earth School. I think that we came equipped knowing everything we need to know about the universe before we even got here, because we've always been in existence, and we always will be. And then we sort of forget it all as we sleep through what the growing process of growing a human body, and then we have to relearn it all as we move along. But you already know what you need to know about living a good life. And I know that you know that. I know that I know that, because when we do things that are out of integrity, we know it. We feel it. It tugs at our mind. We know when we've told a little white lie. We know when, if you told a whopper. And they pull your mind out of its serenity, out of its peacefulness, out of its freedom from worry and doubt and fear. And we come into this place of being eccentric. Oh dear, I pride myself on that. I guess I better watch. A long time ago, Babs, my sister Babs is here. A long time ago, my mother was dating a younger woman. No, wait, that is so modern. A long time ago, my mother was dating a younger man. And my sister says to us, there's a new movie out, it's called Harold and Maude. It's about a younger man and an older woman. If you've ever seen Harold and Maude, it's really bizarre. We go looking for a romantic comedy or something. The first scene, all you see is the legs of a person walking around, lighting candles, step up onto a stool, and then kick the stool out from under him, and the legs are hanging there. And my mother and I look at each other and go, romantic? It wasn't that, but it's a great movie. I saw it just the other night, as a matter of fact. It's totally terrific. And Maude is extremely eccentric, and I loved her right away. I don't want to be like everybody else. I like my eccentricities, but I don't want them to be so eccentric that they keep my mind in whirling me out of integrity, you know? So that's what we're striving for, is a place that what we lose in this life moves with us into the heavenly life. The next life, I don't care what that looks like to you. Ernest Holmes has has this opinion about the afterlife. He doesn't believe in reincarnation. But he doesn't know, so he doesn't care if we do. Personally, I do. And I don't know even what that looks like, but there are so many people on this planet. Look at the child prodigies in all kinds of arenas and go, well, how did they get here with that? If they didn't get here before with that, how did they come equipped? I don't know, it could be a miracle. But the whole point is that your consciousness is what you do take with you. You packed this bag as you've moved through your life. And that's the part that's going to move into the next life with you. Whether it's a reincarnated life or it's simply the next life that you move into. Who knows what heaven looks like? We can make that up as we like. And until we get there, there's no way for us to know what it looks like. The only thing that I do know without a doubt is that there is a next life. That we don't end at the borderline of our bodies. We don't end. We don't end there now. We have continuities out to infinity. And we will continue in that continuity in the next life. So what we're trying to do through this life, through the actualities that we create out of our potentiality, is to move into a life that actually expands our awareness of the good of God as our life. As our life. That's what we're striving towards. So there could be what Michael Beckwith calls unstable structures in our life. Your relationships are your unstable structure. That you're at odds with all of your family and your friends and everything. You have an unstable structure in relationship. Or perhaps you have a dis-ease, that is causing you to have an unstable structure in your health. Or perhaps your finances are your unstable structure. What we're trying to do is to stabilize those structures so that we have solid foundations under us, so that our life is lived in this wonderful, expansive way that gives us something solid to understand about the nature of the divine. Because we've put it into practice. We have created a world that works for us through the use of the principles of science of mind, which are also the principles of virtually every religion worldwide. So we're just striving in this way towards a life that suits us to perfection and doesn't have that unstable structure underneath it. So how do we do that? The way that we do that is by moving our consciousness into an alignment and maybe even a recognition that there are principles in the world that formulate how to live a life, that create that good life, and that provide us with the solid knowing of how the world works when we're moving in the proper direction. So that here's a principle. Faith is a principle. Now, faith has a different meaning to me than it used to have before I found science of mind, because I used to have to take it on faith. Things that I didn't believe, things that I didn't think were true. But the dogma of the practice I was attempting required me to take it on faith. That's not what Ernest says about faith. Faith has a different connotation, a different denotation for Ernest Holmes. So let me tell you what that is, because I can never remember it. Faith is the evidence of things. Well, I'm going to read it because you're close. I think you're close. You might be right. I can't remember. But in the back of the Science of Mind textbook, regardless of what text you have, there's a glossary. And Ernest often means things with the words that he uses that are not the same as what I think of that being.